Tired of feeling good? Too much positivity in your life? Ready to embrace your deepest depressive state? Cronenberg Productions has you covered. Just watch any Cronenberg movie and watch your faith in the future melt away. Cronenberg Productions. Who needs happiness?
Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
Pretty thick.
Break.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Brian's first big tits.
Mistletoe alert.
This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo being pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Thank you.
Whoa. Big crowd today.
Thank you.
Big crowd.
Thank you. Hello.
In
and-
Studio HMT today.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Brett Harley, who holds a PhD in sphincterology, and Professor David David Day, the foremost expert in new theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. Horrible. We've got a great episode for you today because you'll be hearing about how the crimes of the future fucked me up.
I'm really curious about this because I did not. I went in experiencing some kind of like super disturbing experience, and it just did not affect me the way it did you.
Oh God. We'll be reviewing Crimes of the Future.
I think we should. It should be a requirement that you state the title as Crimes of the Future.
Before we get into the show, we got to tell you we have our final Kiggins Cult of Horror live show coming up on Friday, June 24th with our screening of Hereditary. That's right. If you missed Hereditary in theaters, you can catch it in Vancouver, Washington on Friday, June 24th at 9 p.m. Fly in, walk in, bike in, drive in, tank in, submarine in. Do what you got to do to get here. And we're going to have a great time. We'll introduce the show, have a bunch of comedy baloney, have a fun time. And you know, we'll talk to you guys probably if we don't look at you and feel disdain in our hearts. We post new episodes of the show every single Wednesday, so make sure to subscribe and please leave us a nice rating. Look, we got a bad rating this week because
did we?
Someone said that they said specifically trans jokes aren't funny, and I completely agree. I don't think trans jokes are funny either. Even if they are funny jokes, just by virtue of them being about trans people.
See, I take issue
funny.
with that because
It's not. No.
I think trans jokes are just as funny as regular comedians' jokes. Like, they have a unique perspective, and
Okay, now I see what you're doing. You're turning this. Then that's not. Oh, that's kind of funny. But I announced on our men episode I'm trans. Mm-hmm. And I also don't find that trans jokes to be funny. That one was kind of funny, though. So I'm a little confused. But I don't think you're allowed to say that kind of stuff. Anyway, we start out the review by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge where it makes you angry, 5 being an average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good it transcends genre boundaries. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we like to hate about the film. And later in this episode, we will be doing a little bit called Horror Movie Horror, where we take your calls. Yeah, so I think we just talked past each other. I think they didn't get, like, I don't know why they think that the joke happened, but I'm a little offended by it. But I understand that it may be.
Oh, I just assumed it was a bigot that was saying like that your jokes aren't funny.
Oh,
because
I'm trans,
right?
They're saying my jokes aren't funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
which makes me kind of glad because they side with me.
You think?
I
what?
mean, they didn't say Bryce's jokes aren't funny.
Well, now I'm a little hurt in a different way. Before I thought it was just a misunderstanding, and now I feel attacked.
Right.
Oh my God! I like my heart. This is weird. I'm having feelings where I had no feelings before.
Actually, on that interview, I did an interview with
a fella.
With Jacob from Beaverton. He's got a website where he,
as I like to call it, Beavertown,
interviews people that he thinks are interesting. And we had a joint interview scheduled that you scheduled and then promptly forgot.
I asked him to send me a calendar invite, and he sent it way too late, so I just didn't get it. I was gone, out of service.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Jacob.
Anyways, there was a moment where he was like, he said, like, have you ever thought of doing like stand up? I was like, I don't know, I kind of toyed with the idea, and he was like, oh man, what did he say? I wish I had the recording. But he was like, yeah, you guys are really funny, like together. Like, I wonder if it would work on stage. And then he specifically said, David, I'm not sure if you could do it alone.
A stand-up?
Right.
Why?
I don't know. He's like, I can't remember how he put it, but it made me so delighted that he was like, David, I don't know.
Yeah, this is a good way to start the show. Just, yeah, punch me in the dick.
You're already going to feel bad.
Well, Jesus, this is really rude of you. Like, why would you bring this up? You're like, I took joy in the fact that somebody else thought you couldn't do good. That's what I liked.
Yeah, I wish I could remember more specifically. I just really wanted to shoot you down.
I wish you were a thoughtful person.
Uh-huh.
That's what I wish.
Oh.
But we don't always get what we wish.
Oh.
I'm just saying, first of all, you're saying that I'm not funny because I'm trans. And that hurts. And now you're saying I'm incapable.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
No, you're saying you took great joy in the fact that someone else thought that I couldn't do good at stand-up.
Because I disagree, but I find it funny that someone would specifically say that.
Yeah, well, Jacob, you can look forward to not getting that interview. This is literally not the way you get more interviews, is by disparaging people. I'm just saying. You're gonna have to learn these lessons the hard way.
I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that ever since you came out as trans that you're getting attacked more.
It makes sense. Maybe he's a bigot.
Yep. Could be.
Well, we went and saw Crimes of the Future and witnessed David Cronenberg's return to body horror in one of the most upsetting films of the year for me. But I've heard other people say that they were underwhelmed. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews in terms of just like expectations not matching up with delivery. But I had no expectations, and as always, as I say, I am true to. I do not. I had no idea this was even a David Cronenberg film until I didn't even know this was coming out. Until you were like, "Hey, we got a film coming out."
I didn't even know I was in the theater.
I had no idea where I was, who I was. I didn't know what was happening.
All I see is lights on a screen in front of me, and
yeah, until David Cronenberg's name graced the screen, I was like, "Oh no." This is happening now. Anyway, so controversial, to say the least. It is playing in theaters right now, select theaters. And I would hope that it opens up because while I was made very uncomfortable, I thought it was a pretty great film. So without any further ado, here is the trailer.
I can feel you pulling things around in there.
It's a brand new organ. Never before seen. We've all felt that the body was empty. Empty of meaning. And we've wanted to confirm that, so that we could fill it with meaning.
The world is a much more dangerous place now that pain has all but disappeared.
Surgery is sex, isn't it?
Is it?
You know it is. Surgery is the new sex.
I don't like what's happening with the body. In particular, what's happening with my body. Which is why I keep cutting it up. What do you think they'd find inside it?
Outer space.
Whoops. Sorry.
Let us not be afraid to map the chaos inside. Let us create a map that will guide us into the heart of darkness.
As I said, Crimes of the Future can be found.
Sorry, Crimes
What did I
of the Future.
Of the future. Sure. It is a story about the far-flung future, where the Earth has succumbed to environmental havoc wreaked on it by the human race. Humanity has been treated with painkillers for so long that the concept of physical pain is now novel. Our protagonists, Saul Tensor, played by Viggo Mortensen, and Caprice, played by Léa Seydoux, whose art is performative surgery. These protagonists' art is performative surgery that seems to be extremely sexual in nature. Saul Tensor is like a portion of humanity in this world who finds himself growing auxiliary organs that make his life extremely uncomfortable. From eating to sleeping, Saul never finds himself far from discomfort, which is strange given how much of humanity seems to be experiencing so little in terms of feeling that they intentionally mutilate themselves just to feel anything at all. A young child named Brecken is murdered by his mother for eating a plastic trash can in the opening scene of this movie. A complicated game of cat and mouse between shady government agency and a splinter cell of candy bar aficionados takes place surrounding Brecken's death. Does art imitate life? Will humanity embrace their inevitable evolution? My review for Crimes of the Future is that it's the result of 50 years of doom and gloom reporting on humanity's shaping of our environment. This future is one that you've had visions of every time you hear a news report of the trash island in the Pacific. A humanity made perverse by its own inability to react to itself. More than that, this is a return to intense body horror for renowned writer-director David Cronenberg. I have to admit, Crimes of the Future hones in on my most intense personal terror, surgical imagery.
Really? I didn't know this about you. All of a sudden, this makes a whole lot more sense.
Not so bad now. The surgical imagery part, I've worked on a lot. Hang on. We'll get into this more specifically. I first found this personal weakness in the 4th grade when my teacher went into vivid detail in describing how doctors removed her brain tumor. I felt sweaty and weak.
That's pretty rough for grade schoolers.
It was. I felt sweaty and weak, and soon I passed out just on my desk. I just went plunk.
Oh, man. I would love to hear the teacher's version of this story, just how horrified she must have been. They're like, oh.
I don't think anybody even knew.
Oh, really? No one noticed?
It was a very slow, like, I think I just ended up looking like I was asleep.
Oh, okay.
Because I woke up and I was just woozy. Huh. And I was like, oh, what was that? It wasn't even really a go to sleep sort of thing. It was just like your vision tunneling down, your hearing tunneling down, your cold sweats. And then finally, I just had no I had no wits about me anymore, and slowly I came back. But I could hear her voice like echoing in the back. It was very strange. Since then, I've come a long way in my ability to deal with thoughts and descriptions of surgery. Crimes of the Future cracked me by fusing surgery with sexuality and kink. There's something so perverse in the concept of sexualizing voluntary surgery that I found myself sweating and my vision blurring like I was back in the 4th grade. The world that Crimes of the Future takes place in is so bleak and sad, I found myself wishing that the movie would end. The concepts within are terribly interesting and well presented. Questions like, what is natural? And how do you deal with the admiration if the thing that people admire about you is what you most hate about yourself? Crop up all over this masterpiece. There's no shortage of thought-provoking concepts and questions to keep your head busy for ages. I can honestly say that I've never felt this uncomfortable watching a movie that Horror Movie Talk has reviewed. I can say that the most uncomfortable parts for me were within the first and second act. I contemplated leaving the theater after a particular scene, but I'm glad I didn't because the end was had less revolting content and more interesting questions. This is a worthwhile movie that is sure to make you feel uncomfortable on a variety of levels, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. I give this a 9 out of 10. It's not The Fly, which we ironically reviewed last week.
Right.
Unintentionally, I think.
Right.
It seemed like. But 2 Cronenberg movies in 2 weeks makes me sad. It's tough when he hits on these super human questions that you never realized you were asking, but you always kind of have been. It smacks deeply of like the pain body experienced by people who were genocided in World War II. I think Cronenberg had relatives who didn't make it through. Yeah,
that's an interesting connection. I think if you look at Cronenberg's filmography, like pain or like torture and sex are never far off from each other. Like Drive is just all about like sexual gratification through not Drive. Crash.
Yeah. Crash. Oh, okay. That's 96.
And The Fly, just intense body horror, and
The Brood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even in like a history of violence, it's like he's got a strong sexual content.
Eastern Promises.
Promises.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. So, yeah, I did not take this movie the way you did, and I think there's a couple things that really vibe with you that are just things in storytelling that I just don't actually care about that much. So one of the things I like just don't super appreciate or doesn't get me engaged in a thing is world building. And this movie, like 90% of it is just world building. Not a lot is going on in terms of like plot other than just stating this is the world and these are a couple concepts within this world that are happening now. And it just didn't engage me. I didn't feel like I was making connections to like what is he trying to say other than like shit's fucked up, you know? And the imagery is really strong. Like it's very stylized. It's got that what do you call it? Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah.
Feel.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like a mix of 80s technology and future. futurism.
It's got this. I mean, it's
like post-apocalyptic.
It has some fucking Cronenberg stank on it in terms of technology. Like the technology. Watching The Fly and then watching this movie, you go, oh, okay, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It reminds me a lot of. Forgive me if this isn't Cronenberg, but I'm 90% sure that this is a Cronenberg film of Existenz. Did you ever see Existenz?
No, I haven't seen it. What is that? Like the mid 90s? 99, I think, is when.
Yeah, it's pretty late. It was after The Matrix.
Yeah, 99. Yeah,
and it was basically like Cronenberg's take on The Matrix in vis-a-vis video gaming, like virtual reality video gaming.
Yeah,
but like the thing that stood out most for me that I remember from that movie is the controller for the video game was this kind of like glop of goo that you insert your fingers into, and it was very reminiscent of the controls of the surgery devices and the surgery devices.
No, this
themselves.
is what I'm talking about. This is a very Cronenbergian
So
concept. That movie also had Don McKellar in it, Existenz, and Don McKellar was in this movie. He was the registrar, the Jordan Peterson-esque looking man. Every time I saw him, I was like, "Oh, well, fucking Jordan Peterson's on the screen."
There was a couple times where he even said some Jordan Peterson-like things.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what they were.
It was Don McKellar is a common stand-in in a lot of Cronenberg movies. Defoe is in a decent amount. You know, whatever happened to Jude Law? Speaking of Existence, what happened to that guy? Where'd he go? What's he doing? Why don't we see him anymore?
Well, he was in Captain Marvel.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
He was Sinestro in Captain Marvel.
He's been in Fantastic Beasts.
Not Sinestro.
The Secret of Dumbledore. I guess he's still in some big shit.
Yeah,
Captain
the Harry
Marvel.
Potter stuff is. He just had a movie come out that was the Harry Potter thing. Yeah, so he's still around. Okay. I got to say, as long as we're talking about actors, there's an actor in here that has just the absolute best, but also it has to be a made up actor name because no one could just luck into a name.
Okay.
Such as Scott Speedman.
Scott Speedman. No, I think. Well, yeah. Who knows?
And why choose acting, and why would you not go into race car driving?
Gotta play to your strengths.
Scott Speedman.
Scott Speedman. Yeah. No, I think I actually recognize that name. I think Scott Speedman's been in some stuff. But this does star Viggo, who is a returning
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, the Viggo Mortensen and Kristen Stewart. And Kristen Stewart's kind of a hot cold kind of actress for me. I either really like her performance or I don't. And in this case, I really liked her. She gave a very good performance, I thought.
Anytime that she's not playing Kristen Stewart is actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Scott Speedman was in Underworld. He was in The Strangers. That's where I think I remember him from. And then he was in
he was in all the Underworld movies,
all the
apparently.
Underworld. And Triple X State of the Union. So there you go. What are you giving this?
Yeah, not a 9. I was honestly really bored with this movie.
I think a lot of people will feel that way. There were
some scenes that I perked up, and I just wish that there was more connective or compelling material to drive the film, other than saying, "Look at what I can do." That's like the sense I get is it's very much like a world, and most of the dialogue really is exposition of what's happening. And
it
just didn't engage me, and it's a very interesting film. It's like really imaginative and builds a world. I just wish that there was an actual story in it that I could.
Oh my God, that's the whole movie is just a story. The whole movie is just a story. And, people who are like, I was really hoping for a return of David Cronenberg to horror. This is not that dissimilar from The Fly. It's a weird concept. It's a horrific thought. It is a horrific thought experiment. There's
Right.
The Fly is not a scary movie if you're not human. If you're not human, it doesn't work. If all you want is to be jump scared into oblivion, not the movie for you. If concepts are scary to you, and if in particular, if these concepts of humanity and it changing and like, if all that is evocative of like, ooh, how far do we go before we're not human anymore? And
You know what I would, you know what movie I would compare this to? Like, this movie feels like Children of Men, except there's no one pregnant in it.
That's
It's just living in the world.
yeah.
And it just didn't really. Anyways, I didn't like this movie. I appreciate it for what it is, but
The depravity in this is so intense. Like, this is one of the most depraved movies I've ever seen.
I kind of get.
Scott Speedman had his fucking kid in a goddamn freezer trying to sell his child's body to art people to do an autopsy. He's like, hey, I got some shit I want to sell you. It's so fucking gross, dude. Ugh. Sitting over here like, yeah, I mean, you haven't had a kid sitting in your freezer in the garage?
I don't think it was. Well, it wasn't just so that they could autopsy him. The purpose was to expose that he was what he was.
That he was right. Yeah, it's a gross concept. He didn't love the kid for any other reason than he made him a certain way. It's fucking nasty.
So, yeah, I don't. If you want to see like a really interesting film and like a different world building thing, then go see it. But otherwise, I don't recommend seeing it. I give it a 4 out of 10.
Whoa! This is a huge upset.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest upsets ever on HMT for sure. You never see a 5-point spread over here.
Yeah, it's pretty
very
rare.
Very
Yeah.
rare. Host
was one.
was one. I gave that a 3, and you gave it like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. How do you sleep at night? On top of a pile of money, surrounded by beautiful women.
I sleep in a race car at night. Where do you sleep in?
I sleep in a big bed with my wife.
Oh.
Hey guys, if you're listening to these commercials, you should know you do not have to. You head on over to our Patreon and you can subscribe to commercial-free early access content with access to a whole nother podcast over there that we produce specifically for Patreon called the Afterpod, where we talk about our feelings, aspirations, dreams, goals, gossip about our families, gossip about our listeners, gossip about the size of our junk that is going to be, cut off and reformed into something else. Hey, is that my phone? Can't answer that. So check out our Patreon, and if you subscribe on an annual basis, if you pay for a whole year upfront, you get 13% off your whole bill. So check that out, and that's the best way to support the podcast. Another great way to support the podcast is heading to our website and clicking one of the 2 buttons at the top of the banner there. Either spend money on Amazon. Anytime you got to go shopping on Amazon, just click through that link and then buy stuff on Amazon, and then we get a little portion, a pretty good portion of that purchase, and that helps support the show as well. And then also you can check out our Horror Movie Talk shop. We have some plans to be adding some sweatshirts, some shirts, some new stuff, hopefully coming down the pike. And all of that stuff is going to be made by our hard fucking artist. He goes by DG Dog Gutter, also known as Dustin Goebel, who is a professional artist who fucks ever so hard. You can catch him over on his Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. And tell him you want to see... Oh, I don't know. Tell him you want like an artistic rendition of two dogs having sex.
Uh-huh.
Check out our voicemail by calling 682-253-4468. Thanks again. And let's get into spoilers.
Is that a raincoat?
No, it's a trench coat, and I'll thank you to remember it. My name's Viggo Mortensen, and all I wear in this movie is some black trench coat with a face covering. It's very stylized. Mm-hmm. That was the dorkiest part of this movie for me. I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're trying to be so anonymous that you just happen to stick out like a sore thumb everywhere you go. But it was this is a super stylized movie.
Yeah, the whole movie is very, very stylized.
Yeah, the start of this movie starts with like a little boy sitting near. Yeah, so the whole thing is like this bleak new world in the far-flung future. This little boy is sitting next to all these broken down ancient ships, and he's digging in the sand. And his mom's like, "Don't you fucking eat anything you find out there." And you're like, "Yeah, I hate having to tell kids not to eat."
Yeah, this mom was fed up with telling her kid to stop eating shit.
And then he proceeds to just chomp on...
He like huddles in the bathroom with a plastic trash bin.
Curls up to a nice trash bin and starts chomping it. And you're like, huh, okay. All right. And
I don't remember those tasting good. I don't...
And then he goes to sleep and mom just proceeds to... suffocate him with a pillow. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh no, this is where we're going. This whole movie's going to be so fucking fucked. I don't like seeing little kids murdered by their parents.
Really?
Call me old-fashioned.
Oh.
I know.
All right.
It's weird, right?
So sensitive.
Did any of this strike you? 4 out of 10.
I feel like a lot of the stuff was... It gets to a point where it just... my suspension of disbelief is completely ruined, you know? Because you see the surgery and it looks like fake movie organs, you know? It's like, oh yeah, that's goo. That's like Cronenberg goo. Special effects stuff that they're sticking stuff in, like... just doesn't... I don't believe it. So I just see it as a movie. And I just see it as the concepts. And the concepts, the novelty of the concepts is very short-lived. It's just like, huh, interesting. Okay, let's see where they're going with this. And they end up not going that far with it.
Yeah.
It's
they go... I don't know. I feel like they go pretty far with it.
Tell me... Let me go through like the concepts in the movie and what it's trying to touch on and see if I miss anything. So,
you're going to miss a lot because I missed a lot. You know, like, I mean, this is so jam-packed full of conceptual, like it's all a big conceptual playground asking a bunch of questions about humanity, what makes us human, and yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
So yeah, the first thing is the kid that eats the trash can, and there's something going on there. And then we meet Viggo, and he's in these weird contraptions, and you find out that the contraptions are to help counteract the pain that he's feeling while sleeping and while trying to eat breakfast, apparently. Just breakfast. There's only a breakfast chair, not like a lunch or dinner chair. Interesting enough. But, and you find out through exposition that pain is kind of a thing of the past. Just people don't have pain anymore. And the human race is evolving rapidly. And this involves sprouting new organs.
New organs where there weren't organs before.
Like, and the most notable evolutions that apparently everyone's on board with or doesn't, want to counteract is almost no one feels pain.
Yeah, there's been so much anesthetic drenched across society. People have basically become. There was a throwaway line about anesthesiology. Where it was like, oh yeah, there's just been so much anesthetic and painkillers thrown around that it's become part of our bloodline or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, I didn't hear the part of what it was attributed to, but it's basically people evolved into no longer feeling pain. And then also, the other big one is that no one, experiences infections anymore.
Right.
So, surgeries are like, just a pastime now where you break out the old folding table and go do surgery in the middle of the town square for your amusement.
This is difficult for me now.
I feel like those two concepts are kind of what the world is built around, which is no pain, no infection. So, like, worrying about washing your hands, worrying about, like, picking up trash or cleaning anything is like, why bother? Because that's kind of what the world looks like now. It's very gritty and oily and gross, and it has like that post-apocalyptic feel, but also it kind of like the fact that it says like, oh yeah, people don't wash their hands anymore because they don't get infected and no one feels pain or whatever, is kind of setting the stage. And then Viggo and his girlfriend, artist, within this world are performance artists that do open chest surgery to extract some of these new organs that Viggo sprouts.
Designer organs. Novelties.
Right. And he's evolving them. They just sprout, and they're not sure what they do or why they're there, but he wants to get rid of them. And then there's another faction that's like
embracing all this
change. It.
Yeah, Viggo's fighting it.
And the background is like the government like trying to control it.
Right.
Because no one wants humans to evolve into something that's not human, basically. Even though they're at that point now, apparently. And then, so there's these underground forces of what are we going to do with these new organs? And
the general consensus of like quote unquote normal society is you wouldn't want new things in you. Who knows what they do? You could. It's not normal. You don't embrace new shit. That's we're old guard people.
And then.
But it's weird because the amount of discomfort that Viggo is caused by living this quote unquote pure life, removing these organs that keep trying to like come in. He is an uncomfortable person, whereas other people seem to be going through life pretty good.
Yeah, he's the exception to the rule where he does feel pain, and that's problematic. And then the big reveal and the connection to that little kid is that kid,
A Designer Baby by Scott
was
Speedman.
The first like genetically passed on. Yeah, so like his father like modified his own organs to be able to digest plastic
trash,
and his son had all those same abilities
innately. Born with them. Which is there's an interesting analogy towards the end, where what's her name? The Claire, is it? Caprice says something like, "What? So you cut off your finger and your baby's born without a finger? That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, that's definitely a movie line of like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Right?
And they're like,
shut up. Yeah, well, and again, that's a very Cronenberg thing.
Sure,
it's just like, hey, shut up. I'm playing with a fucking concept here.
In the Fly, it's like, oh, I got to make the machine crazy about the flesh. Well, that solved it.
What does that mean? We're doing butt stuff. Get in.
And so that's revealed, and then they want to do an autopsy on the kid, and then some shadowy agents have come in and made it look like they were artificial organs, and then Viggo kind of gives in to letting these organs keep sprouting and not. And then there's another concept of like an organ, like what was it, a beauty contest or something?
An inner beauty contest.
And then he just kind of gives in, and at the end it kind of shows that like, oh, I can eat plastic now. And that's it. That's the movie.
Okay. You realize that you're missing all the points, right? You're missing all of them.
Okay. Tell me what the points are.
Okay. Well, it's hard because you've just spent the last 10 minutes speed running through a movie that's fucking packed with analogies and metaphor and suggestion and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is why I think you like this film a lot more than me, because
I understand things on a general level.
It's okay. let's review the tape on that concept. Like, I think you like world building a lot more than I do, and I think you like the ambiguous, like, fill your own meaning into stuff as opposed to being told what the point is or what the.
There's reasonable ways to infer all of this shit. Okay,
don't be angry. You can just tell me what you think.
Oh, can I? Am I allowed to talk now? So if you start at the start, humanity can no longer feel pain, and at first glance you go, oh, that's good, right? Pain's bad, right? So why would you want to feel it? Well, as it turns out, that's the one universal truth that everybody can agree on Earth, is pain. Everybody knows this is not fun. And that's not really something you can argue with. That is a general truth for humanity, is pain is uncomfortable, not great. And when it's done away with, well, a part of humanity slips away from you. And not only that, a lot of physiological problems are born of that. You know, I mean, shit, what's that disease where you can no longer... leprosy. You can't feel pain in your extremities and stuff, and what ends up happening, you start losing fingers and shit because you don't notice that you bash them really hard on things, and it's pain exists for a real important purpose, and that's to keep you safe and whole.
Right.
And so if humanity has anesthetized themselves so frequently and so much to avoid feeling pain that now they no longer feel pain, well, they've gotten rid of a core concept, a core tenet, a basic truth of what it is to be human. And everybody's kind of okay with that because, well, it's good, right? We don't feel pain. That's good. But it's not good. You can see the thirst in everyone's eyes throughout this movie just to feel anything. And they'll go attend art shows of people being cut apart, and they're so enamored with this concept that they get off on it. everyone in these shows is like, oh my God, I just want to be cut open by you. Oh my, all I want is for you to just cut me apart. Like, and that's so fucked up. That's super fucked up. And so what ends up happening is all these people, and because infection is no longer an issue, people are allowed to modify their body with open wounds, zippers in their stomach, just open wounds all over their body. And it's like body modification into times 100. You know, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to be beautiful. I want to feel things. And it's such a messed up concept that we can't feel, and so all we want to do is feel. Of course, as soon as you take some innate thing away, all you look to do, even if it was bad, even if pain bad, all you look to do now is to feel that pain. And as a result, a lot of this society is so fucked up at its core. Like this dude Scott Speedman plays, Lang Dotrice, who has modified himself to eat trash intentionally. He loses his son, and he's not nearly so upset about having lost his son, you know, the fruit of his loins, the one thing that humanity almost has universally agreed upon for its entirety is this is the meaning of life, is to pass on knowledge and try and make a better version of myself. When he loses his son, the thing he most bemoans is the loss of basically the technology of his son. It's not the humanity within his son that he mourns. It is the loss of a statement, which is we're evolving as we're evolving. And we should accept that because we're a new techno society that's based that we fucked our environment up so badly. It's time to evolve with our environment, which we fucked up so badly. So accept the shit, accept how bad it is, eat trash. Is this concept that he's pushing, and that ends up being the symphony of this whole movie at the end, where Viggo eats trash and is like, oh, it's fucking glorious. I'm one step closer to God because I ate trash and it worked. My body is now digesting trash. And he's so enraptured by this moment of eating synthetic garbage that it's just a disgusting concept to me. It's humanity made perverse in so many ways. Like it's just a nasty, nasty concept. And it's very sad to me. It's just it just makes me sad for David Cronenberg and what he must see in life. You know, because that's such a heavy, heavy thing to have to put all this into words on a script and then make people act it out. It's just super gross to me. The concepts of this movie fucked me up badly. And like this whole sexuality mixed with surgery thing. It's too much for me.
Yeah, that's the sex and surgery stuff just felt like, I don't know, it felt a little masturbatory, where it's like how far can I take it? It's hard. It's like, it feels like the movie was an excuse to show that stuff as erotic, which I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And anyone, you know, all the S&M peeps out there, like they'll, I'm sure, tell you the interaction between pleasure and pain. But yeah, I mean, it's I feel like the main thrust of what it's getting at is, you know, what is the end effect of modern life, and how are we changing humanity into something else? You know, how are we, what are the effects of, you know, this toxic lifestyle on an organic creature, to be able to continue surviving in it. And it's a very blatant message of that, but I don't think it particularly says anything interesting. Just like people are going to evolve into something different, and there's going to be pushback against that. It's kind of a physical representation of more social concepts. But yeah, it just didn't. It did not affect me the way it did you.
I mean, I can't. You know, it's going to hit everybody different, just as with everything. But
I feel like this movie, like everything could have been done in a short film. Like all of the concepts that it laid out would have been great in a 20 to 30 minute movie. For like whatever the runtime was, like for an entire feature length film, it gets really thin. Like I wish there was more stuff happening.
It doesn't ever feel thin to me. It feels
one of the things that he does, which is interesting, an interesting take, but makes it more boring for me, is that it doesn't really discuss the government or like the powerful forces. It's just kind of that exist in the world. It's more of like just alludes to them, you know, and you never really see like there's not like a villain. There's not like a opposing force necessarily. It's just a bunch of societal reactions to changes happening. Yeah,
that's what I really appreciate about this, and what I appreciate about Cronenberg's stuff in general is often there isn't a villain. It's literally just opposing viewpoints or concepts, because the reason I appreciate that is because that's the way the world is. You know, there's very rarely somebody who believes the thing they're doing to be nefarious, which is the basic premise of a villain. But instead, there are people who act believing they're doing the right thing. There's Scott Speedman who's like, no, this is the way. This is we're eating trash. We should be eating trash. This is the natural order of things. And then there's those who push back against it. And then there's the old guard, the government, who's like, you know, standing for the conservative stance. And neither is necessarily. They all think they're doing the right thing. You know, there's no bad guy necessarily, it just depends on where your values fall.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even just the clash between the philosophies isn't there. It just states them. Like, there's no stakes for the characters about whether they adopt or push back against those, you know, inherent clashes. It's just they decide what it means to them and operate in that way. So, I mean, like a good example
the government assassinates Scott Speedman. With drills into his head.
I guess I missed that part. I thought those were like the technology company girls. Like I missed the part where they're attached to the government.
Oh yeah, well that's that would make sense why you got done saying all the things you just said if you missed this super critical part of the movie, which was a discussion between Viggo Mortensen and the government agent, the black fella, who said, "Oh yeah, we have operatives who are threw, Viggo's like, hey, the shit inside that kid, that wasn't what was originally inside that kid. You guys went in there and took it. And he's like, yeah, we got operatives. And those were the operatives.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the difference is, like, that happens to not the main character in the film. So, like, the protagonist and, like, the main thrust of the storyline, there's not really a lot of stakes. There's almost no stakes. It's like he just exists and he's reacting to things put in front of him.
It's a much more core thing. The stakes he faces are the stakes of losing what he believes to be his humanity. It sets this up from the very beginning of him being like, whoa, I don't want these fucking new organs in my body. What might that do to me? I might lose my humanity that might turn me into something gross. His struggle is within, and the final outcome is he accepts the thing that he believes to be the thing that, he becomes non-human to himself.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many more opportunities for conflict that would make it more interesting to me. Like, it's even like interpersonal conflict with his girlfriend, with like relationship stuff, with like the government, or like there could be a lot more going on, and it's not. And like another film that's kind of an example of this that I'm also not a huge fan of for similar reasons, but at least it does more in terms of like plotting and having a driving like narrative would be Blade Runner. Blade Runner is also kind of a post-apocalyptic, this is what the world will become, and here's the situation of, like, we have artificial life, and this is what happens, and here are the results of that, and here's, like, the end effects of what needs to exist to react to that, and then we have the storyline of, the mystery or the hunt for these simulated beings, which is, and they all have personalities, and there's all, like, this, are they, aren't they kind of thing, which makes it interesting to me. Is like still pretty fucking boring movie, but at least you could point to that and say, like, here's the overarching theme, like here's what they're getting at, and here's how the conflict between these characters and these chases and the things that happen demonstrate that. In Crimes of the Future is like it's just a slice of life in this future thing, where it's like, yeah, this is one guy's life within this world, and this is how he personally reacts to it, and how he eventually accepts something that he didn't want to accept before, which, yeah, it is. Things happen. It's just not that much.
I'm so glad you brought up Blade Runner, because Blade Runner is an example of a super cool concept. I think this is the most apropos comparison you can make in this case, and I'm super glad you brought it up, because Blade Runner is an example of a super interesting concept that's executed in a very slow, boring way to me, right? It's particularly the original, obviously. I love the concept. I love the thoughts and everything. This, Crimes of the Future, sure, is the more interesting version of Blade Runner, which is the shit that's going on in people's heads in Blade Runner. That, like, what are you doing to get to find out where humanity starts and ends? Because it's all the same question between Crimes of the Future and Blade Runner is the question of what makes you human? Where do we draw those lines? When do we start? Blade Runner is the question of when do I start being human? And Crimes of the Future is the question of when do I stop being human? And conceptual or execution wise, Blade Runner is about the outward actions, and Crimes of the Future is about the inward emotion. And that inward emotion is what is interesting to me about this movie, because I was compelled to feel all kinds of different things. It brought questions up to me. There's one part of this movie that we haven't even touched on yet. I mentioned in my review which is the artistic aspect of the whole thing. You know, let's not forget Viggo and what's her face, Caprice are artists, and this is a huge part of this movie where they are famous in the underground art world for doing super, bleeding edge stuff, so to speak, no pun intended, and they have so many fans who are like, oh, wow, this thing I love that you do. And literally, Viggo's response is, I do that because I hate it about myself. I'm getting rid of this. And that's the thing that you most love about me, is my ability to make these things that I see as cancerous. That's what you... And so he's constantly having this struggle of like, whoa. That's very relatable to me, where I'm like, where somebody will approach us about this show and be like, I love the show that you guys do. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't talk to you about this. This doesn't why would you like the thing that I do? I hate me. It's a very, like, these kind of conceptual things are the thing that I like about this movie. It's the emotional part.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's two examples of, the same thing. You're right in saying Blade Runner is more focusing on the external actions, and this movie is more exploring the internal world. I don't think either one of them necessarily do it in a super interesting way. I think there's a way to combine it that makes it much more powerful and makes it a better experience for the audience. I mean, we just watched The Fly, which is a near perfect movie, and demonstrates the power of doing both, to where it has a very human story, relationship-based, personality-based plot, and then has the external factors of this is the new world in which these characters live in and how they react to it. And it's just so much more powerful in that, because there's more conflict, there's more stakes, because you understand what the characters are and what their motivations are, and where the conflict is, and how it's eventually resolved or not resolved.
See, but the things that you just got done describing, I understand who the characters are and what their motivations are, and like, I get all that in this movie, and it hit me much harder than The Fly. Much, much harder. It is a much more powerful movie. Much more compelling in terms of the questions that it... And, by the way, it's the same concept. It's just like principally, this is The Fly in a different way. Same, but different.
So, I mean, if it's more impactful to you, why did you give it a lower score?
I think it's so uncomfortable. I think I felt so upset by this. I think this is a good example of another movie like, what is that one? The House That Jack Built, where I was so upset with it. I almost walked out of this fucking movie. I'm not joking. There was a good 10 minutes where I was.
At what part was it? What scene?
It was the part where she performs surgery on him in front of everyone. And
he's basically coming. Well,
yeah, everyone in the fucking room is like coming about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's nothing here for me. I have to go. Like, I was panicking. This was profoundly uncomfortable. I really can't.
See, that's so weird, because my reaction to it is like,
because the concept, it's not like the visual isn't the gross part. I mean, it is gross and it's well done, but conceptually, it's vile. It's so gnarly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see it and I see it and I'm like, yeah, that's the point. And instead of being affected by it personally, instead of like experiencing the vileness and like and like feeling it viscerally, I just go like, oh, he's pushing the limits here. Like that's
you choose
he's
not
doing
to
a
feel,
vile thing.
and I choose to feel. I always feel too much, always. I think, and I may be way out of turn here, but I've heard you and Aaron state this, where you're like, or you recounting Aaron's recollection of how you are, and it's like, oh, I don't feel enough, you know. And I think I felt this movie a lot, and I think you chose not to feel it, or maybe it just, you know, I don't know how that works. Choose or not, I don't know, but I had no choice in this. I know that, so maybe you didn't either.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or if it's just like my brain is processing things differently, but yeah, I mean, I can stuff like The Fly, like it really affects me. Like I can suspend my disbelief and not see it as like, oh, look at the makeup artist. They made it so his fingernails could come out. Like I was experiencing it as like, Jesus, like I felt it myself, what that guy must be going through. And I think that's related to my buy-in to the story and the characters. And this one, everything felt so artificial and foreign on the face of it, because that's what they were trying to do. I think a lot of like science fiction or fantasy and world building stuff like that's, I just can't get into it because I see it as like, oh, they're creating this from scratch, you know, and this is like, it's creating a world that doesn't exist or is unrecognizable. So the people's emotions and their worldview are like, there's no analog to today's world.
You seem to need a movie to suspend your disbelief for you, whereas mine is just always suspended. I'm just there with it. I'm always just there with the thing. It's not even a want. It's just, I just go, okay, all right, and accept every premise that is given to me. I'm a dupe in terms of just going for stories. I just accept them as what they are, and if the premise is weak, then it's weak. Then it all falls apart for me. But I will automatically buy in. I don't have any choice in that. I just go, okay. And so conceptually, if the concept is fucked or weak or is easy to see through, you know, like that's why slashers just don't work. Because it's like, all right, well, a lot of them are just so supernatural and ridiculous that it's like, okay, like critters, huh? All right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't say I approach it or like have one reaction every time. It's a combination of factors of how much do I enjoy the concept and how much do I enjoy the presentation of it. You know, it's it's a multifaceted thing, and for whatever reason, this one just didn't do it for me.
I gotta say, I know you pretty well, but I'm still always impressed by how little I'm able to call your enjoyment of things. Some things are easy. Some things are easy with you.
Like what?
Well, gratuitousness is typically just appreciated by Bryce. But
the gratuitous scenes in this movie are like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like what?
Like the surgery scene, the art, the performance art stuff, like the scene where like they're both cutting each other when they're naked alone. Like it's like it's gratuitous and interesting because like, yeah, that can't exist anywhere else but in film, you know? And that's where I see, like, in terms of the filmmaker's perspective, is like they're having fun. Like, they're having fun, like, building this in their mind with the expectation of what the audience is going to feel because of it. And I think that's a lot of where my enjoyment comes in play, is like, a lot of the time I take the filmmaker's perspective first, where it's like, I
take the storyteller's perspective.
Okay, tomato. Like, it's like it's going by what their intentions are, and like,
I don't think it is tomato. But I'm sorry. Go on, and I'll elaborate after you're done.
Like, it's everything on screen is decided. Like,
right.
It's all intentional. There's nothing unintentional shown in movies usually. Like, everything has to be created. Even the chairs that they use are like,
right.
There's got to be some art department head that comes to the director and says, like, this one or this one. Right. And he's like, well, I think in this scene this one will work better. And so those choices, like, going through, like, trying to imagine what the filmmaker was thinking, at all levels, either the director, the actor, the writer, or whatever. Some of that is apparent, and seeing their enjoyment or seeing how well they execute, like, a particular concept, is where I get a lot of enjoyment from.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of what you're describing is the visual media aspect of it. Is your initial intake thing, and mine is the dialogue and the conceptual. That I take the written story and digest that first. Now the visual is impressive in its own way.
No, I mean, it's both. I mean, it's like, it's everything together. It's what the medium of film is, which is, how things are communicated, whether through visuals or through the script. It all goes together to demonstrate what the filmmaker or the storyteller is trying to convey. Right. And I get enjoyment out of seeing their unique perspective executed in exactly the right way.
Okay.
We're going to review Get Out after this one, and that's an excellent example of, like, that is a unique perspective. It's communicated so well that I feel what his perspective is now through the script, the visuals, and, like, just the entire concept.
I don't think I'm going to be successful in describing what I'm trying to say because I realized that we're not talking quite about the same thing. Which is I'm talking about my personal filters in how I take in media. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about your appreciation for how a thing is put together conceptually, visually, and story-wise. That's where you derive your appreciation from. Is this?
Well, I mean, that's just one of my filters.
Sure. I'm saying that my initial, the strongest, the thing that hits me first and strongest is almost always conceptual. It's the story. Right. It's the not necessarily the visuals, but the ideas behind them. Bless you. But so I don't know. Anywho, it's impressive how
I think that is true. Like, I get that sense. Like, you do fall in love with the concepts. And if you're in love with the concept, the execution is not super important. Like, if you are completely bought into the concept, it's like, Like, okay, well, you're pointing out the choice of thoughts or the dialogue or whatever. That seems nitpicky. What's really cool is the idea. And I think from my perspective, I also fall in love with the concepts, but I am disappointed when it's not utilized to the furthest extent that it could be.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just a limitation of the filmmaker. Sometimes that's like just the decision that they're making to focus on one thing and not the thing that I would focus on. So,
that I will say before we get on with the rest of it, I know the one thing that we didn't touch on really that I think deserves a little bit of discussion is the autopsy bed and the food eating chair. And they are like these organisms almost.
Yeah.
These like super Cronenbergian organisms that were made with the explicit intent of and the bed and the hammock, the bug hammock thing that were all made with the intent of like cradling humanity in a humanity that is changing fundamentally and feeling a bunch of discomfort. And this concept of like, we have to build this super complicated bioorganic machine that makes things easier so that we can keep living life as we knew it. It sets up such a weird amalgam, such a weird and it's executed in such a goofy way, like that chair.
The breakfast chair is probably the most goofy.
It's like it's wiggling him, but it's just like sitting on your dad's lap and having him like push your head back and forth and kind of wiggling his hips while you're kind of just being jostled around.
Yeah, that's one of those where like the concept, like you're buy into the concept is so important because if you just look at it, you're like, this is the goofiest shit.
It's so stupid.
Because like I could see what they're trying to do, which is like it's hard for his body to go through the motions of eating solid food. And so the concept is there's a chair that helps move your body and engage in the muscles and like the peristalsis, like, is that the right word? Peristaltic?
I'm going to say sure.
The motion of swallowing and moving food through your body to where it's engaging. It's like that thing if you're working out with a trainer and they like just do shit to engage your core.
Yeah.
Stand on this balancing thing because we're going to engage your core while you're just doing a basic, lifting movement or something. So like this chair is to engage your digestive system. And so it's just, but on the surface, if you just look at it, it's this like rickety,
super
like special effects, like organic, weird alien chair thing that's just like Viggo Mortensen is like, he's got the wiggles,
And by the way, so like, yeah, it's supposed to. So the thing that it's supposed to achieve, this chair, is like a more natural position so that you are able to imbibe and digest food easier, right? So that's the concept. But in reality, it's got you wiggling around and like all uncomfortable. And at no point in human history has the eating experience been like wiggling around. So it has never been natural to do this.
No, I think what it was trying to say is it wasn't giving you the correct posture to eat. It was getting the feedback from your body to move you in a way that engaged the natural systems that used to just normally work.
Which is okay. Oh, I see what this means now. Which is so fucked up anyway, right? Because it's like, oh, now you need this thing to like wiggle you around, and oh, hey, we have a live call into HMT. What is this?
Nothing important.
Oh, okay. Goodbye. That's what we do when you call our voice line at 682-253-4468. We just pick up and hang up so that you can go straight to voicemail. Yeah, it's got a lot of weird concepts. I'm so curious to see how much flack I get for liking this movie a lot, and how much flack you get for not liking it very much at all. Because I think there will be camps on this. I think this is a divisive movie.
Maybe. I mean,
there's already been discussion on the Horror Movie Talk Facebook group. Big Facebook group over there. Lots of cool people. Lots of discussion. You should check it out. But yeah, already somebody was like, anybody check this out yet? Reported back 2 hours later. It sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's already been.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine there's going to be a lot of people that go into it that are disappointed. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel like there was that much there for me.
It felt like it was almost too much there for me. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That we could be so different in that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anywho, who's this for with that? Like, who would enjoy this movie?
Oh, Cronenberg fans. If you like to see titties.
And I do.
This has got those in there.
A lot of those. Yeah, I counted 6.
Even body horror, like, in terms of saying this is a body horror film, it definitely is, but I don't know. I mean,
I almost passed out.
It's more of like a special effects film, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, if you like body horror, go see it, I guess. I don't know.
You know, in terms
I don't think it's worth seeing in the theater. I think you could wait until it's out.
There's
to rent.
In terms of like aesthetic, it's got a real monotone backdrop that's just super sparse and feels kind of like Cube. You know, just like we had a shoestring budget.
Yeah, that's the other thing is it like feels like a lot of the aesthetics of it is I've seen before.
Yeah, oh yeah. It feels kind of like Dark World. Remember Dark World where it was just a super monotone, nothing backdrop? Sin City, kind of just like...
Yeah, kind of yellowish. And, I mean, like, yeah, the cyberpunk is definitely... Heavy in it, but like... Yeah, retro futuristic is what it is. Retrofuturism, which is old technology mixed with new technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if
the most unbelievable aspect of this film is that CRT televisions still exist in the future. They don't exist now.
Yeah, you can't find them now, really.
Yeah.
I mean, well, maybe you can. I don't know. I'll say if you get grossed out by concepts, this will be extremely uncomfortable for you. So do with that info as you may. So now let us move into horror movie talk. What's the name of this bit? There's a little bit where you guys call us at 682-253-4468. Let us know what you think.
Man, we've been getting a lot of calls every week for the past couple of weeks where it's like, man, we got to keep on top of the new releases or else these are going to back up.
Yeah, they're getting crazy. This is Jessica from Nashville. I'm just going to preface this one by saying she is a Patreon patron of ours, and so she has the added benefit of getting to listen to episodes that we record way in advance, like Critters, which we've already recorded and put up on our Patreon.
Was that a pretentious review or just an in the bag?
That's in the bag,
okay.
I believe. Yeah. So that's one up on Patreon at $6.66.
Hey guys, it's Jessica from Nashville, and I just downloaded and listened to your Critters episode, and I just want to say thank you, and I'll tell you why. You guys already remind me so much of my brother. Like just the way you guys are, how fun you guys are and everything, and just the way we grew up too. And this is kind of hard for me to talk about, but like your critters episode just reminded me so much of like, so me and my brother, we both grew up in the 80s. I was 4 years older than him. And it was like I introduced him to Critters 1 and Critters 2. And he just like flipped his shit. Like I felt like as his older sister, it was my duty to introduce him to horror movies. And that little fucker like watched that movie non-stop over and over and over again until I got so sick of it. I couldn't even stand them anymore. But you guys just remind me of him so much, and this brought back so much nostalgia. And it just really made me smile and reminded me of the good times. So my brother, he died in October from a drug overdose. And, you know, we had a similar, very similar raising to you, David.
I'm so sorry.
It just feels like, oh my God, that was literally my childhood. And non-joke, we also like would joke, me and my brother would laugh that our dad was like Gary Busey. And
yeah.
It's just like, oh God. So anyway, but my brother died of a drug overdose, and there was just a lot of pain that, you know, he suffered from, and, you know, we all have our demons and everything. And so I just picked up other types of things like perfectionism and all this other shit that, you know, I'm working through, but it just made me miss my brother. And, yeah, so anyways, I just really thank you guys for bringing a smile to my face and laugh and a good happy cry. So thanks. Love you guys. Bye.
Oh, bye.
What do you want me to do?
Stand up.
Okay, then what the?
Stand up.
All right.
Stand up. Stand up and face me.
Okay.
Put your knife up.
Okay. Now what do you
Use your knife to defend yourself. Come on.
Little slice of life there.
Oh,
Scary Busey.
all coming back to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that about your brother. Like, man, drug abuse is rough. It's one of those like really helpless things where it's like, I don't even know how people get out of that cycle, you know? Because I feel like personally, if it was me, if I was addicted to, you know, heroin or something, it would be like, oh, well, I'm definitely going to die from that. Like, because I wouldn't be able to be strong enough to get out of it. Be like, yeah, but I need that. So I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, it's grown up in a traumatic childhood. I'm sure everyone reacts differently and has different toxic or beneficial reactions to it.
You know, it's super strange how much difference 4 years can make, you know? Because like my brother and I are 4 years apart. Uh-huh. I'm older. And I really witnessed a lot of the alcoholism and the real tumultuous upbringing of those, you know, up until I was 9 or 10, mm-hmm. something like that. And my brother, you know, he experienced it too, but at a much younger age.
Yeah.
You know, not cognizant, you know,
yeah.
from 0 to 5.
Right.
And he is, you know, I think he would agree that he's affected somewhat, but mm-hmm. very different how life just strikes everyone differently. And 4 years, you know, you go, oh, I went through the same things you did. And it's like, even if you're twins, you didn't go through the same fucking things, right. You know, and everything hits everybody different. And Jessica, take the happy feelings where you can find them and experience the sad feelings and take them where you can find them, and just, it's all life and it's all a beautiful thing, you know, and be happy that you can feel, you know, because the bad makes the good so much better. So yeah, I'm sorry that you've experienced that, but go back and experience the ecstasy of Critters 1 and 2, because they are fabulous movies. They're a lot of fun. Here is CJ.
Hey, CJ, Beast from the Northeast. So, as far as sinkholes and earthquakes go...
Oh, God.
Would you rather have the possibility of a sinkhole happening somewhere in your general area once, let's say once a month, and you don't know if it's going to be right under your house or down the street as you're driving, or how bad the sinkhole is going to be, like how big it's going to be? There's just a possibility that it might happen in your area.
Got it.
Once a month. Or would you rather go through, let's say, a 5 or 6 on the Richter scale earthquake the same day once a week, and you know what's going to happen, and it's at the same time every day? Which one of those would you rather experience? The threat of a sinkhole is going to happen, you don't know when or where, or for sure being through an earthquake, same time, same day, once a week?
I mean, that feels like a really obvious answer to me.
Well, that's tough, because his premise is, I don't know, you know, being from the Northeast, CJ is the Beast from the Northeast. I don't think he has a strong concept of what a 5 or a 6 is. You know, with earthquakes, you generally kind of like, it starts getting serious around 7, you know?
Yeah.
6 is probably not a great time, but
like 5,
a 7 is logarithmically worse than a 6.
I think like 5 is like almost imperceptible.
You can feel it. I've been through 4s and 5s that I felt, you know?
Well, yeah, like I think I've only felt an earthquake once.
I felt
like,
a couple.
There's been, I always hear about them after they happen. They're like, "Oh, did you feel the earthquake?" I'm like, no.
It helps to have birds. Birds fucking go nuclear about a minute and a half before an earthquake, and you're like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And they're like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, the only one that I felt, I was at work and I was leaned back and my head was against the wall. And
it
so
just jostled your head a
yeah,
little bit.
all of a sudden I was like shaking. I'm like, well, wait a minute, walls don't do this. But even then, it was like gentle, and did not last that long.
Okay, so let's.
I feel like the obvious answer is like, of course you'd pick the earthquake,
Right? Of course, yeah. It's a little bit difficult the way he set it up. So let's make it. Let's make it a 7.
Okay,
instead
7.
of a 5 or a 6, let's make it a 7 to a 7.5. You know.
Still, you choose the earthquake.
I would choose the sinkhole in that case. I do not want to sit through 7s to 8s
weekly.
Oh my God!
I mean, if you could prepare for him, you just like
buildings come down in 7s and 8s.
Well, yeah. Then you'd reinforce him to the point where you know it wouldn't come down, and like put your stuff in like the cabinets that they'd use on like an RV or a boat.
No sinkhole. In my general area, like okay. Yeah, I'll take that way over like all my stuff getting fucked up all the time.
Well,
yeah.
no, I mean, you would, if it was weekly, you would prepare so much. It would be like, all right, well,
yeah, it would interfere with your life directly a lot. Yeah, whereas a sinkhole, it's still like just a shot in the dark that it might happen to me or to somebody else in this general area. It's so localized. I would take sinkhole every time on that.
Huh? That's weird.
I like that you're like, inconvenience every week. I'll take that. Guaranteed inconvenience over.
Yeah, inconvenience because you can...
That's at the base level, it's inconvenience.
You can completely plan for it. Especially, like, even if, like, you thought, maybe my house will fall down. You're just like, okay, well, I'll make sure to go out in the park during that hour. and just wait.
You don't get to know when it's going to happen. It's inconvenient every time. And not only inconvenient,
No, that was the
fucking
premise.
super dangerous.
No, that was the premise. He said the same time every week is what he said.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I would definitely choose the sinkhole. But
All right, well, I'll stay in my well-constructed and reinforced house that can't possibly be shaken down, and you stand the chance of being swallowed by the earth.
You get to have this. No, it's this house.
Yeah. If I knew it was happening weekly, don't you think I'd hire some contractors to be like, okay, we got to put these straps on and put these like
versus a 40-foot sinkhole happening somewhere in the Portland metro area that's almost guaranteed to never happen to me. Yeah, I'll take
It's in your general vicinity.
Yeah, that's the Portland metro area.
It's a random possible occurrence monthly that you might be swallowed by the earth.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I would take certainty over dread.
I would experience no dread because I understand how the possibility that even if you were to say in a 10 square mile, if you were to narrow it down to such a small, portion of land as 10 square miles,
right?
The possibility of that catching you, is very small. It's very small versus guaranteed baseline weekly inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
That's baseline.
Well, yeah. I mean, if my choice is weekly inconvenience versus the possibility of being swallowed by the earth, no, I'd take. I would rather
the
know.
possibility of being swallowed by the earth is very real with the earthquake. Earthquakes can result in fucking fissures and all kinds of bullshit. They can result in multiple sinkholes.
You're right.
Yeah.
That is terrifying.
It's fucking horrifying.
Sinkholes are terrifying. The shaking the earth isn't that interesting to me, though.
Okay. Yeah, whatever.
Oh, no, just my books fell off my shelf. Oh, dear.
Okay. Well, different strokes, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that was a good call. Thank you, CJ. That was actually pretty good. Oh, no. Look who it is.
Yo, it's Mike from California again. Good episode there on the fly. Bryce, don't you listen to David about pushing your dick down while you were looking at David Blaine or Paula Poundstone or whoever it was. Keep that dick up. The monkeypox started from ass eating, and I'm patient zero, and I'm a 39-year-old millennial, I guess. Team back. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mike was kind of a reasonable human being this time.
Huh.
Are we socializing him?
I'm realizing he might be another like Rojo type character of like.
Oh man,
because he's saying he's patient zero by eating ass. Like it feels like a real Rojo.
Remember Rojo? Remember the golden days of Rojo?
Man,
those were great. Great days.
Now you've sucked all his energy out in the separate podcast.
What are you talking about? Oh, I would do a podcast with Babyface Billy.
Oh, sorry.
What is
Maybe he's just being shown up by another Brooklyn native. Bronx native.
Well, Babyface is from the Bronx. Anyway.
Hey, CJ, Beast from the Northeast. Yes, from shitty Massachusetts.
Okay, there.
So, it has to do nothing with any previous episodes. I just wanted to say, David, myself as a fellow metalhead, I gotta tell you about the band Ice Nine Kills. If you don't already know them, they're a horror-themed metal band. They're amazing. They're one of my favorite bands. They act out different scenes from horror movies on stage. Basically, a lot of their material is based on horror movies. You can tell pretty much which movie just by listening to the song. And yeah, Ice Nine Kills. Check them out. They're dope. See ya.
David is having a full body eye roll. He almost fell out of the chair. I think, haven't you talked about this band in particular before? Maybe it was just on an Afterpod or something.
Uncanny how many fans of ours come out to tell me about Ice Nine Kills, and then sometimes I just go, "Hey, thanks for the tip," And other times I go, it's not really my lane.
Make a bold statement right now. Just let's cut off these recommendations once and for all.
Ice Nine Kills is. I'm not going to kink shame anyone. I get it. Different strokes for different folks. If you like Ice Nine Kills, I like stuff that you're years away from getting to in the catalog. Ice Nine Kills is not my kind of deal. It's kind of poppy. It's kind of, it is what you would describe as metal now. And I like, so and by the way, this horror movie stuff in metal, it's fine. It's great. It's not my particular lane. Although I would say if you're a horror movie fan and you're a metal fan, which I know there's a lot of crossover, there's a band that started in the 90s that is still so astonishingly influential, even with their early stuff, that it's better than Ice Nine Kills, in my opinion. And they're called Mortician. And here's a little Mortician for you to give you an idea of, where this starts and ends here. Let's move.
Ate his genitals.
Badass stuff. Yeah. That's Cannibal Feast by Mortician. I like Mortician a lot more than I like Ice Nine Kills. A lot. And I'm not a huge Mortician fan. There's some bigger fans out there. Although, if you like Mortician, you'll really like the loving tribute to Mortician, Fluids, which is a lot more disgusting in real life. And they have clips of people dying on their songs. So Next call. How does this all make you feel? How does all that metal stuff make you feel? You have the full body eye roll anytime metal is brought up at all.
I listen to that. I'm like, yep, that's an effects pedal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, uninteresting riff over and over again, and you're getting all the mileage out of that effects pedal you can.
Oh, yeah.
And then usually a very talented drummer.
Yeah, the drummers are and the vocalists are always my favorite part. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, they're
vocalists have, from my experience, like the vocalists have two tricks, and they lean on those heavily.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no, like, because I am a vocalist. Like,
right. A metal vocalist?
I am a singer.
Oh.
And I appreciate excellent singers.
Right.
That
no, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't say metal vocalists are singers.
Right.
Really. Yeah. No, they're more like
they're performers.
They're more like experimental yellers.
Right.
Old yellers.
Right.
Yeah. No, we're in agreement.
And it is impressive, but it's like, yeah, it's
a full body eye roll from Bryce about metal.
Right.
It's like, okay. I've stopped trying to.
It's like guys that have a on the nose, just excellent Jimmy Stewart impression, and that's all that they do, and they do it all the fucking time.
So left field.
It's like, okay, I mean, it's impressive, but why?
Hey, this is Brian from Alabama. I just wanted to talk to you guys about the Sly review today, and you were talking about that it could be possibly better than The Thing as far as practical effects go.
Can you chill out,
bro? You guys are fucking mistaken, bro.
Whoa.
There's no way. I've watched both movies 1,000 times. There's no way. You guys are crazy. I mean, honestly, I'd like to hear a more in-depth review on both as far as practical jokes go. Yeah, I'm pretty fucking lit right now. But either way, I love both you guys. You fuck super hard. You could probably fuck my wife once in a while, because I don't do the job. But thank you guys. Love you. Everything you do. Bye.
I love you, Brian.
Did he say suck his wife or
no,
fuck his
fuck
wife?
her.
Oh, okay.
Offering his wife.
Where is he from?
Alabama. Down at Bama.
Down south.
Yeah. No, dude. Yeah, they're definitely two different lanes in terms of practical effects. And I can see enjoying one over the other, but I couldn't see... I can't see, like, being, like, for sure on one is better than the other. I mean, we did maybe do that in the last episode.
Yeah, I feel like I could stake my flag on The Fly.
I mean, they're both incredible. I don't feel like I could necessarily... Yeah, it's a pretty close tie in terms.
I feel the thing with The Fly for me is it's believable.
The thing with The Fly?
The thing with The Fly is it's believable all the way through, and they dwell on it. Like, they don't turn away from it or hide it from, like, plain view.
It's believable that a man could be fused with a fly in a teleporter?
Well, it looks so convincing. I'm saying the special effects look so convincing, and you really feel like what he's feeling in the transformation.
Yeah.
And the Thing special effects are fantastic. They're great, but there's also moments that pull you out of it. It's like, it's impressive, but also you can see, like, oh, those are hoses that they're spraying air through so that they wiggle in the air.
Now.
Or like the
the
chest compression things where it opens up and eats his arm. It's like,
again, these are some jaded horror fans who have seen The Thing, 6 times.
Right.
That first time I saw The Thing, though, I mean, Brian's right. It was so shocking and out of left field every time. And that's the advantage that The Thing has over The Fly, is it is horrifically shocking and scary visual. Especially on that first viewing. Now, he's saying he's watched them both 1,000 times, so I don't know what we're exactly arguing about here, Brian. If you're watching The Fly 1,000 times, then you obviously love The Fly.
right.
But...
yeah, and that's the thing, like, stuff like that.
That's the thing.
Even the first viewing for me, I'm like, let's make up.
I have to return some videotapes.
I don't know.
I'll take you up on that wife thing. I'll tell you what, Brian.
Yeah. I'll ask Erin if she's okay. If
Yeah.
she gives consent, I'll come and fuck your wife.
Okay.
Well,
Hey,
let's send
guys.
pictures first. I mean, let's be honest.
Shut up! Beggars can't be choosers, Bryce. How do I restart this? This is Tiana?
It's Tiana from Nevada. Sorry, I haven't called in a long time. I've been busy finishing my undergrad, and I graduated on Friday the 13th.
Congrats!
With my BAs, which is, it's pretty awesome. Anyway, I just got done listening to The Fly, episode. And to be honest, I've never seen The Fly, and I know it's, like, probably disgraceful to, like, listen to a podcast, like, about a movie that spoils everything before watching it. But it's also, like, I don't really know if body horror is my big thing. Like, I watched Hellraiser with my boyfriend a couple weeks ago, and I was just super freaked out. So, I don't know. I wanted to get your guys' take on it before I just started watching The Fly. But that's all I've got for you. Yeah. All right. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to the review, I mean, I think we outline it pretty well. If that is of interest to you, then watch it. Like, I think it's engaging enough to where, like, yeah, it's worth the admission price,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, get your life together, Tiana. What the fuck? I know you just graduated and everything, but
yeah,
can you get your fucking priorities?
Now you got to enter the real world and watch The Fry and watch The Fly.
The Fry.
What if like Jeff Goldblum transported and instead of a fly, it was just like a stale McDonald's fry left on the inside of it, and then he gradually turned into a French fry. Human.
And then it'd be a happy movie.
A Brundle fly. A
Brundle fry.
Brundle fry. Damn it. Anyways.
Oh, I'm so full of carbs.
My outside's getting so crunchy and my inside's so fluffy.
Oh, man. Bundle fry.
Anything else?
Brundle fry.
Did we ever mention, like, on the Fly review how you were like, what is a Brundle fly? Or was that before? I don't remember if it entered the conversation on the actual podcast.
Well, it's a strange thing, right? Because Brundlefly is almost like a noun now. You know, it's like a thing that exists. The way people talk about it is they go the Brundlefly, which is not a circumstance in most movies. Is you don't see people referring to the movie in such a colloquial way. In a character in the movie in like such a specific and colloquial way. So I was thrown off because it had been so long since I had seen the movie. I figured that maybe like Brundle was a variety of fly that Cronenberg named that character Brundle because irony, you know? Because there's also a kind of fly that is a Brundle fly, because everybody goes the Brundle fly when referring to the movie The Fly from 1986. Right. So, yeah, I
think the circumstances. I honestly, I hope it's on the podcast, but the circumstance in the conversation, whether it was recorded or not, was Dave was like, "What is a Brundle fly?" And I was like, "It's the combination between his last name and just the fly." And he's like, "Oh, I thought Brundlefly was a type of fly." I was like, "What? How am I supposed to know that?" And like the day before, or like the hour before, we had been planning our show, which multiple times like was mentioned the name of the character Seth Brundle.
Well, I was worried to ask the question because I thought maybe the person whose opinion I most respected would come out and make fun of me.
Well, it was a funny moment because you're like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be expected to remember something that I learned."
Well, because you reacted in the exact way that I feared, which was by mocking me. I felt I had to defend myself.
I laughed with you. We both laughed because the circumstance
I had to laugh because otherwise it was going to be tears.
We both learned like the same thing at the same time, which was the character is named Seth Brundle. I retained that information, and you promptly forgot it the next day.
Right. No, I just got done. Did you not hear my explanation of the whole thing? How I thought that Brundle was named Brundle because I thought that it was an ironic naming.
Right, but if I remember right, in that conversation, you did not remember that his name was Brundle.
No, I knew his name was Brundle.
Okay, well, this feels like revisionist history.
Yes, it does. Indeed. One of us is right. Only time will tell. Thank you for listening to this episode of Horror Movie Talk that seems to just be always long now. I'm just like, it's always going to be...
We didn't even talk that much about the movie other than just arguing about whether it was good or not.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, it's important. These things are important. Thanks for listening. Share the episode with a friend. Share things. We love you. Support us if you can. Free podcast. We produce it out of trying to get you to, trying to make you feel guilty enough to support us. So, and we do want to feed our family.
Yep.
And we still haven't been able to do that.
My children need wine.
My kids need wine. Have a great week. We love you. Bye.
Bye. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Go, 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 go.
I just had to stroll through the scraggly woods. He had no face! Horror!
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it. New theatrical releases always get priority.
But we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Can I see one titty?
Yes.